That's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up alone in my apartment on a Friday night, scrolling through Instagram watching people I went to high school with hang out together while I eat cereal directly from the box, like some kind of feral friendship hermit. Well, let me take you back to a simpler time when making friends was as easy as asking someone if they liked Pokemon, sharing a juice box, declaring eternal friendship on the playground, planning your future as co-astronauts, getting into a fight about who would drive the spaceship, making up 10 minutes later because someone brought gummy bears, and boom, you had a best friend for life, or at least until one of you moved to a different school district. But then you become an adult and suddenly everyone is too busy and has a mortgage and needs to focus on their career and can't just hang out at the park for 6 hours on a Tuesday. It's honestly very inconvenient. I remember graduating college and realizing that I had accidentally left all my friends back on campus and had to start from scratch in a new city where I knew absolutely nobody except my cat, Mr. Whiskers, who, despite being an excellent listener, has terrible conversation skills and judges me constantly. After reading The Like Switch by Jack Schaefer, which is written by a former FBI agent about building rapport, and spending way too much time researching adult loneliness statistics that made me feel worse about my situation, I realized something important. Making friends as an adult isn't actually hard because of some personality deficiency I have. It's hard because we've removed all the natural friendship infrastructure that existed when we were younger. No more forced proximity in classrooms. No more built-in hangout time at recess. No more parents setting up playdates for us like tiny social secretaries. But once I understood the actual mechanics of friendship formation, I was able to reverse engineer the whole thing, and now I have friends. Like, real ones. They text me sometimes and everything. One of them even invited me to their birthday party. I didn't go because of social anxiety, but the invitation meant a lot. The common mistake. Waiting for friends to magically appear here's where most adults completely screw this up, and I was guilty of this for years. They expect friendship to happen the way it did when they were kids, naturally, effortlessly, without any real effort on their part. They go to work, go home, order DoorDash, watch Netflix, and then wonder why they don't have friends. My brother in Christ, you have not left your apartment in 4 days except to check the mail. Research from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that it takes approximately 50 hours of time together to move from acquaintance to casual friend, 90 hours to become a real friend, and 200 plus hours to become close friends. That's a lot of hours. That's like binge watching all of Breaking Bad 3 times, except instead of watching Walter White's descent into drug lord chaos, you're having coffee with another human being and pretending you have your life together. The problem is that adults think friendship should feel effortless and natural from the start, like it did in childhood. But childhood friendships felt effortless because you were literally forced to be around the same people 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. You logged those hours without even trying. As an adult, you have to intentionally create that repeated exposure, which feels weird and forced at first. But that's okay. It's supposed to feel a little forced. You're manufacturing the conditions that allow friendship to develop naturally. You're a friendship engineer now. Put that on your LinkedIn. The core principle, proximity plus consistency equals friendship. It's actually a formula. Making friends as an adult follows a surprisingly simple formula that sounds almost too obvious to be useful. You need repeated, unplanned interactions with the same people over time. This is based on something called the mere exposure effect, which is just a fancy way of saying that humans tend to develop preferences for things simply because they're familiar with them. This is why people make friends at work, at the gym they go to regularly, or in their apartment building. It's not because these places are magical friendship factories. It's because you keep running into the same people, and each interaction makes the next one slightly easier and more comfortable. The key word here is unplanned. When interactions feel forced or overly intentional, they're exhausting. But when you're just showing up to the same place regularly and naturally running into people, friendship develops without feeling like a second job. This is why we should hang out sometime. Never actually happens, but I'll see you at yoga on Thursday does. Your job isn't to force friendships into existence through sheer willpower and awkward coffee dates. Your job is to create the conditions where friendships can naturally develop by showing up consistently to the same places where the same people also show up. Boom. Friendship engineering. I told you that LinkedIn thing would pay off. Strategy 1. Join something that meets weekly and actually show up. If you want to make friends, you need to join a group activity that meets on a regular schedule, ideally once per week. This could be a recreational sports league, a book club, a running group, a board game meetup, a climbing gym, an improv class, a pottery class where you can live out your ghost fantasies, or literally anything where the same people show up at the same time every week. The key is consistency. You can't go to one yoga class, have one mildly pleasant interaction with someone, and then never go back. You need to become a regular. When people start recognizing you, remembering your name, and saving you a spot, that's when the friendship foundation is being built. I joined a recreational volleyball league about 2 years ago despite being absolutely terrible at volleyball. I'm talking like accidentally spiking the ball into my own face levels of bad. But I showed up every Tuesday at 7 p.m. for 12 weeks straight. By week 3, people knew my name. By week 6, we were grabbing drinks after games. By week 10, I had a group chat with 8 people planning non-volleyball hangouts. And now, 2 years later, these are some of my closest friends, even though I'm still terrible at volleyball and recently got benched during a crucial match because I kept serving the ball directly into the net. The beauty of this approach is that you don't have to do anything weird or forced. You just show up, participate in the activity, and let the repeated exposure do its thing. After a few weeks, conversations naturally happen. Someone makes a joke, you laugh, you make a joke back, and suddenly you're having actual interactions beyond nice weather today. Strategy 2. Initiate plans, even though it feels terrifying. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Someone has to be the friendship initiator, and it's probably going to have to be you. Most adults are waiting for someone else to invite them to things, which means everyone is sitting at home alone waiting for an invitation that never comes. It's like a Mexican standoff of loneliness, except instead of guns, everyone's just really anxious about seeming too eager. After you've had a few good interactions with someone, maybe at your weekly volleyball league or your book club or wherever, you need to take the leap and suggest hanging out outside of that context. This is terrifying, I know. It feels like asking someone to prom. But here's the thing. Most people will say yes because most people also want more friends and are equally terrified of initiating. The key is to make it specific and low stakes. Don't say, we should hang out sometime, because that's meaningless and will never happen. Instead, say, hey, I'm checking out that new coffee shop on Saturday morning around 10 a.m. Want to join? Or, there's a free concert in the park on Thursday. I'm planning to go if you want to come. Notice how both of those invitations have 3 things: a specific activity, a specific time, and a casual vibe that doesn't require a massive time commitment. You're not asking someone to be your maid of honor. You're asking them to get coffee or go to a concert. If they say no, it's not a rejection of you as a person. They're probably actually busy. Try again in a couple weeks with a different invitation. I know this feels vulnerable and weird. I once invited someone to get lunch and then spent the entire meal wondering if they were having a good time or just being polite. Spoiler alert, they were having a good time, we're still friends, and I wasted an hour of mental energy worrying about nothing. Strategy 3. Host regular gatherings. Become the social anchor. One of the most effective friendship strategies I've implemented is becoming someone who regularly hosts things. Once a month, I host a board game night at my apartment. Nothing fancy. I provide some snacks. People bring drinks. We play games for a few hours. That's it. But here's what happens. By being the consistent host, you become the social anchor point. People start thinking of you as the person who does the monthly game night. You become associated with social activity. And when you host regularly, people start bringing their friends, which means you're constantly meeting new people in a low-pressure environment. The key is to make it a regular thing with a predictable schedule. First Saturday of every month, or every other Wednesday, or whatever works for your schedule. Put it on the calendar. Make it a known thing. And here's the crucial part. You have to keep doing it even when attendance is low. The first game night I hosted, 3 people showed up. One of them was my roommate who lived there. One was my brother who I bribed with pizza. But I kept doing it monthly, and now I usually have 8 to 12 people show up. And I've had to implement a maximum capacity because my apartment isn't that big and fire codes are apparently important and legally binding. This strategy works because you're removing the friction of organizing. Nobody has to coordinate schedules or pick a venue. It just happens every month. People can drop in when they're free, skip when they're busy, and never feel pressure. It's friendship automation. Quick friendship hacks that actually work. 1. The Benjamin Franklin effect. This sounds backwards, but people actually like you more after they do you a small favor. It's a psychological quirk where people justify their helpful behavior by deciding they must like you. So if you want to build connection with someone, ask them for a small favor, borrow a pen, ask for a book recommendation, request their opinion on something. It creates a bond faster than you'd think. I'm not saying manipulate people. I'm saying use mild psychological manipulation for the forces of good. There's a difference. Probably. 2. Remember and use people's names. Dale Carnegie wrote about this in How to Win Friends and Influence People, and it's still true. When you remember someone's name and use it in conversation, it makes them feel valued. Most people are terrible at this, so being good at it makes you stand out. I started writing down people's names and one interesting fact about them after meeting them, and it's made a huge difference. Is it slightly creepy? Maybe. Is it effective? Absolutely. Do I now have a spreadsheet with 50 names and facts? Please don't look at my Google Drive. 3. Practice vulnerability. Research from Brené Brown shows that connection requires vulnerability. If you only ever present the polished, perfect version of yourself, people can't connect with you because they can't relate to you. Share something real, a struggle, a fear, an embarrassing story. When you're vulnerable first, it gives other people permission to be vulnerable too, and that's where real friendship happens. This doesn't mean trauma dumping on strangers. It means being willing to be a little bit honest and a little bit imperfect. The timeline. How long does this actually take? Remember those numbers from earlier? 50 hours for casual friend, 90 hours for real friend, 200 plus hours for close friend. Let's break that down into realistic terms. If you join a weekly activity that's 2 hours long, you'll hit 50 hours in about 6 months. That's when someone becomes a casual friend, someone you're genuinely happy to see, who you might grab coffee with occasionally. 90 hours is about 11 months of that same weekly activity, or about 6 months if you're also hanging out outside of the activity occasionally. That's real friend territory, someone you text regularly, make plans with, actually show up for. 200 hours is when you hit close friend status. That's the person you call when something important happens, who you can be completely yourself around, who knows your weird habits and likes you anyway. That takes 2 to 3 years of consistent contact, or about a year if you're seeing them multiple times per week. The point is, friendship takes time. There's no shortcut. You can't speedrun intimacy. But you can be intentional about creating the conditions that allow friendship to develop. And if you're consistent, you will make friends. It's basically inevitable. Math says so. The truth nobody wants to hear: making friends as an adult requires 3 things that are uncomfortable: consistent effort, repeated initiation, and vulnerability. You have to show up regularly even when you don't feel like it. You have to be the one to suggest plans, often multiple times. And you have to be willing to be a little bit real and a little bit weird. But here's the good news. Everyone else is also lonely and also wants friends and also finds this whole thing awkward. You're not uniquely bad at friendship. You're just operating in a system that makes adult friendship harder than it needs to be. But now you know the system. You know the formula. Proximity plus consistency equals friendship. Show up regularly, initiate occasionally, be slightly vulnerable, and wait for the hours to accumulate. It won't happen overnight. It'll take months, maybe a year. But one day you'll realize that your calendar has actual social plans in it. Your phone has group chats that are actually active, and you have people who genuinely want to spend time with you. Not because you're exceptionally charismatic or effortlessly likable, but because you showed up consistently and gave friendship a chance to develop. And that's way better than eating cereal alone on a Friday night while your cat judges you. Although Mr. Whiskers and I still have our special time. He's actually grown on me. Or maybe that's just the mere exposure effect again. Now go join something that meets weekly. Your future friends are waiting.